The Harmattan wind moved slowly across the savannah, carrying dust and old memories. The village of Indam sat between a wide river and dark forests where spirits were said to walk at night. Round huts formed a circle like elders in deep thought. Smoke rose from cooking fires. Drums rested quietly, waiting for evening. This day was not like other days. It was the day the family gathered to honor the ancestors. In Indam, such a gathering was like what others might call Thanksgiving. It was a sacred time. A goat was slaughtered at dawn. Palm wine was poured on the earth. Food was shared. Truths were sometimes revealed. At the center of the compound sat Grandmother Sawa. She was very old. Her back was bent like a bow. Her eyes were cloudy, but people said she could still see what others could not. She was known as the last woman who spoke often with the ancestors. When she coughed, children went silent. When she spoke, even chiefs listened. Before her sat her two granddaughters. The first was Amora. Amora was calm, dark-skinned, and strong-looking, with eyes that carried quiet fire. She was known in the village as a healer and herbalist. She listened more than she spoke. Spirits often visited her dreams. The elders said her blood carried old power. Beside her sat her younger sister, Naila. Naila was beautiful and restless. Her fingers never stayed still. Her eyes moved like a trapped bird. She smiled often, but her smile did not reach her eyes. Today, she wore bright beads, but her hands trembled slightly. Behind them stood a man dressed unlike the villagers. He wore polished sandals and a clean white robe. Around his neck hung papers tied with string. He was Kand, the king's legal messenger. Some called him a lawyer, for he carried laws, land records, and written words that decided who owned what. His presence alone made the air heavy. The drums began softly. Women sang low songs to invite the ancestors. Firelight danced on faces as the sun lowered behind the hills. The smell of roasted meat mixed with earth and smoke. Grandmother Sawa lifted her hand. Silence fell like a shadow. Her voice came out slow and dry, yet sharp. "Before we eat," she said, "I must ask one question." Amora felt a cold wind brush her neck, though the air was warm. Naila swallowed. Grandmother Sawa turned her cloudy eyes toward Naila. The old woman's lips trembled as she spoke. "Child, where did the bone necklace truly come from?" At once, Naila began to shake. Not just her hands. Her whole body trembled. Gasps moved through the crowd like ripples in water. Amora's heart began to beat hard. She looked at her sister. That necklace, an old white bone charm, hung around Naila's neck. It was said to belong to their mother, who had died many seasons ago in the forest. Naila's breathing grew fast. The lawyer Kand tightened his grip on the papers. The elders exchanged looks. The wind grew louder. Grandmother Sawa leaned forward, her voice now filled with something deeper, anger, pain, and warning. "That necklace," she said, "belongs to the first daughter of our blood. It is bound to land, spirits, and truth." Amora felt her skin burn. She was the first daughter. A distant drum beat once. Boom. Naila tried to speak, but no sound came out. The fire crackled. Sparks rose like small spirits into the night. Grandmother Sawa lifted her staff and struck the ground. Boom. "Someone here has lied to the ancestors," she said. "And the ancestors are no longer patient." The lawyer Kand stepped forward. "Great Mother," he said carefully, "the king has sent me because of a land claim. The riverlands and forest edge once owned by your family are now under question. The truth must be spoken tonight." Whispers spread fast. Those lands were sacred. They held old graves, spirit trees, and hunting paths. Losing them would break the family. Amora stood slowly. "My grandmother," she said softly, "let the truth come. I fear nothing." Her voice was steady, but inside her chest, fear burned. Grandmother Sawa looked at Amora with sadness and love. "You will," she said. "But not without pain." She turned back to Naila. "Speak," the old woman commanded. Naila's lips finally moved. "I did not steal it," she whispered. "It was given to me." A low murmur rose. "By who?" an elder demanded. Nayla's eyes filled with tears. By a man, from the forest, she said. At that moment, the fire flickered wildly. The wind howled. A strange smell, like rain and blood, passed through the air. Hunters reached for their spears. Spirits walk, someone whispered. Grandmother Sawa closed her eyes. The forest does not give without taking, she said. And spirits do not gift without a price. Amora remembered her dreams, dark trees, red moon, a woman crying near the river. She had ignored the signs. Now the signs were here. The lawyer Kand cleared his throat. If the necklace was taken unlawfully, he said, then the land tied to it may be lost by sunrise. A gasp escaped Amora's mouth. Nayla collapsed to her knees. I was afraid, she cried. I wanted the land. I wanted the power. I did not know it would awaken them. The drums stopped. Silence returned, heavy and dangerous. Grandmother Sawa opened her eyes. Tonight, she said, the past will rise. Secrets buried with bones will walk again. She pointed her staff toward the forest. And when the ancestors finished speaking, she added, not everyone will remain standing. Thunder rolled far away, though the sky was clear. Amora felt it then. This was only the beginning. The night had questions. And the answers would demand blood, truth, and sacrifice. Before the first bird cried, Amora stepped into the forest. Mist clung to the ground like pale spirits that refused to sleep. The trees were tall and twisted, their roots breaking the earth like old fingers. Every step she took felt watched. Behind her came three others. Elder Dogo, keeper of clan history. Konu, a young hunter with brave eyes. And Nayla, walking barefoot, the bone necklace still around her neck. Grandmother Sawa had insisted. The one who broke the bond must walk the road, she had said. Drums from the village faded as the forest swallowed them. The air smelled of wet leaves, old blood, and secrets. They reached the riverlands just as the sky began to pale. The river moved slowly, dark and wide, whispering in a language older than people. On its banks stood tall stones covered in symbols, marks of ancestors long gone. Elder Dogo touched one stone and sighed. This is where it began, he said. Amora felt it. A deep pull in her chest. She knelt and pressed her palm to the earth. Images flooded her mind. A younger grandmother Sawa. Two sisters standing by the river. A baby crying. Amora gasped. She saw clearly now. Long ago, the land had chosen two bloodlines, not one. But fear had twisted the truth. Elder Dogo began to speak, his voice heavy. There was a time, he said, when the first daughter was meant to rule the riverlands. But the elders feared her power. They hid her child and named another. Nayla froze. Amora's hands shook. The hidden child's blood still lives, Elder Dogo continued. And the spirits have waited. The mist thickened. Roots rose slowly from the ground, forming a circle around them. Mabira appeared again, her form growing from the earth itself. You see now, the spirit said. The lie fed me. Nayla fell to her knees. My life was built on stolen truth, she cried. Amora turned to her sister. You were used, she said softly. So was I. Mabira's eyes burned brighter. One must choose, the spirit said. Blood or silence. The river began to rise. Konu stepped back in fear. What does she mean? He asked. Amora stood tall. She wants a confession, Amora said. And a return. Elder Dogo nodded slowly. The necklace must return to the river, he said. And the lie must be spoken before all. Nayla clutched the necklace. If I remove it, she whispered, I will lose everything. Mabira leaned close. Or you will gain your soul, the spirit whispered back. Nayla screamed and tore the necklace from her neck. The river roared. She threw the necklace into the water. The river swallowed it with a loud splash. Suddenly, the earth cracked. A hidden cave opened near the riverbank. From inside came a soft cry. A child's cry. Amora moved forward, heart pounding. Inside the cave lay bones wrapped in cloth, and beside them, carvings of a woman holding a child. Elder Dogo wept. The buried truth, he whispered. The first daughter's child was sacrificed to protect the lie. The forest groaned. Mabira screamed in rage and pain. You see what fear does, the spirit roared. It feeds monsters like me. The ground shook violently. Amora knelt by the bones. We will honor you, she said. We will tell your story. Mabira began to change. Her roots loosened. Her bones fell away. You have turned the path, the spirit said weakly. But the price is not finished. The sky darkened again. Far away, horns sounded. The king's men were coming. And the truth was no longer buried. It was awake. Morning came gently to Indam. The sun rose over the hills, painting the sky with soft gold and pale orange. Birds returned to the trees. The wind no longer screamed. It whispered. The land was at peace. The villagers slowly lifted themselves from the ground. Faces that had been tight with fear now held wonder, shame, and hope. The earth beneath their feet felt warm, alive, forgiving, but watchful. Amora stood quietly at the center of the village. She felt different. Not powerful in the way kings were powerful, but rooted. Like a tree that had finally found deep water. Lawyer Kand approached her, his head lowered. The king will hear of this, he said. The land will remain with your people. I will record the truth as it was spoken. Amora nodded. Write it fully, she said. Do not soften it. Kand agreed. The soldiers gathered their things and left without another word. Their footsteps faded down the red road, and no one followed them with anger. The land had already spoken. Grandmother Sulwa was helped to her feet. She leaned on her staff and looked at Amora for a long time. Tears filled her old eyes. I was afraid, the old woman said. Fear made me silent. Silence fed darkness. She reached out and touched Amora's cheek. Forgive me. Amora held her grandmother's hand. The truth has returned, she said. That is enough. Grandmother Sulwa turned to the people. From this day, she said loudly, no truth will be buried. No child will be hidden. No power will be protected by lies. The elders bowed their heads. So did the warriors. So did the healers and hunters. The drums began again, this time slow and joyful. Women sang songs of cleansing. Men poured palm wine onto the earth for the ancestors. Children laughed, unaware of how close the village had come to ruin. Naila stood apart from the crowd. Her eyes followed the river. She felt lighter, but also empty. Amora walked to her. You are still my sister, Amora said. Naila looked up, shame burning her face. I wanted to be seen, she whispered. I let jealousy blind me. Amora placed her hand over Naila's heart. Being seen is not the same as being chosen, she said gently. The land does not love pride. It loves honesty. Naila nodded. I will serve, she said. I will learn. I will listen. And she did. In the seasons that followed, Naila worked beside the elders, cleaning sacred sites, learning old songs, and tending the graves near the river. She never wore charms again. Her strength became quiet. True. Amora did not become a queen. She did not sit on a throne. Instead, she became the voice of the land. When disputes rose, people came to her. When dreams troubled the village, she listened. When children asked about the past, she told them everything, good and bad. She spoke the names that had been erased. She told the story of the buried child. She told the story of fear, and how it nearly destroyed them all. The land responded with abundance. Crops grew tall. The river stayed within its banks. Hunters returned safely. The forest grew calm again. And Mabira of the roots never returned. Years later, when Grandmother Sulwa joined the ancestors, the village gathered again. The fire burned bright. The drums beat slow. Amora stood before the people and asked one question, the same way her grandmother once had. Have we kept the truth alive? And the people answered together. Yes. Moral lesson. Fear creates lies. Lies awaken darkness. But truth, spoken with courage, heals both the living and the land. Those who hide truth for power will lose everything. Those who face truth with humility will protect generations yet unborn. And the ancestors always listen. The wind roared through Indam like a living thing. Dust rose from the ground and circled the village. The drums beat louder, faster, though no hands touched them. Fire leapt from the hearths, bending toward the sky. Even the river in the distance began to sing, its deep voice rolling across the land. Boom, boom, boom. The ancestors had arrived. The soldier who raised his spear froze. His eyes widened in fear as the earth beneath him cracked open. He fell to his knees, dropping his weapon. All around, the king's men stepped back. The ground was no longer theirs. Amora stood at the center of the circle, her feet bare on the shaking earth. She felt heat rise through her legs, through her spine, into her chest. Her heart beat in time with the drums. She lifted her hands. "I do not call for blood," she said loudly. "I call for truth." The wind slowed slightly, as if listening. From the air above, shapes began to form, shadows of men and women made of smoke and light. They wore old garments, carried ancient scars, and held staffs, bows, and drums. The ancestors. Villagers fell to the ground. Even the soldiers bowed their heads. One spirit stepped forward. She was tall, strong, and carried the same eyes as Amora. "The buried child was mine," the spirit said. "And I am the first daughter." Amora's breath caught. She knew now. The power in her blood had a name. The spirit turned to Lawyer Cand. "The land does not belong to kings alone," she said. "It belongs to memory, sacrifice, and truth." Cand fell to his knees. "I only follow law," he whispered. "Then write the law correctly," the spirit replied. The sky darkened further. Mabira appeared again, barely holding her form, roots breaking away like dry wood. "My hunger ends," Mabira said. "But balance demands blood or courage." Silence followed. All eyes turned to Amora. She stepped forward. "I give my courage," she said. "And my voice." She turned to the soldiers. "You came with force," she said. "Leave with respect." The ground split open again, this time forming a deep line between the village and the soldiers. A clear border. The land had drawn its own law. The soldiers backed away slowly. Their leader dropped his banner. "We will tell the king," he said. "This land is protected." Cheers tried to rise, but the ancestors raised their hands. "Not yet," the spirit said. The first daughter spirit turned to Nayla. "You must choose," she said. "Carry shame forever, or heal what you broke." Nayla stood slowly, tears streaming. She walked to the center and knelt before Amora. "I choose healing," she said. "I will serve the land, not rule it." The ancestors nodded. Mabira cried out one final time and shattered into dust that sank into the soil. The wind calmed. The drums slowed. The sky brightened. The spirits began to fade, but the first daughter spirit looked at Amora one last time. "Protect the truth," she said, "or we will return." Then she was gone. The land was quiet. But something had changed forever. The horns from the east cut through the forest like blades. Their sound was sharp, cold, and final. Amora stepped out of the cave first. Dawn light struggled through the trees, turning the mist pale gold. The river had calmed, but the air still felt heavy, as if the land was holding its breath. Konu climbed out behind her, eyes wide. "They are coming fast," he said. "Soldiers. Many." Elder Dogo followed slowly, leaning on his staff. Nayla came last, her face empty, her eyes hollow. Without the necklace, she looked smaller, like a child who had lost her way. From the riverbank, Mabira watched them. The spirit's form was weaker now. Roots no longer held her tall. Her voice sounded dry, like leaves crushed underfoot. "The lie has been exposed," Mabira said. "But exposure does not heal. Only sacrifice does." Amora turned to her. "What sacrifice?" she asked. Mabira lifted a long finger and pointed at Amora's chest. "The first daughter must stand before the king," the spirit said, "and claim what was denied." Elder Dogo gasped. "That will break the old order," he said. "The council will resist." "The land already resists," Mabira replied. "It will not be silent again." The horns sounded closer now. Amora felt fear rise, but beneath it was something stronger, purpose. I will speak, she said. Even if they kill me. Naylor looked up sharply. No, she cried. This began with me. I will go. Amora shook her head. You were used, she said softly. This is my road. Suddenly, Mabira let out a sharp cry. The forest shook violently. Birds flew screaming into the sky. I am fading, the spirit said. When the sun reaches its highest point, I will return to dust. If the truth is not spoken before then, the land will belong to the king forever. The pressure in the air tightened. Go, Mabira commanded. Run. Amora and the others turned and moved fast toward the village. Branches scratched their skin. Roots grabbed at their feet. The forest seemed alive, pushing them forward and holding them back at the same time. As they broke out of the trees, they saw the village of Indam below. Smoke rose from cooking fires, but now mixed with dust. The king's soldiers had arrived. Metal shields shone in the morning sun. Spears stood tall like a forest of death. At the center stood the king's banner, red and black. Villagers were forced into a wide circle. At the front stood Lawyer Kand, holding his papers. Grandmother Sawa sat on the ground, guarded by 2 soldiers. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fury. Amora ran forward. Stop, she shouted. The crowd turned. Murmurs spread. She has returned from the forest, someone whispered. The soldiers moved to block her, but the ground beneath their feet suddenly cracked. A low rumble rose from the earth. The warriors hesitated. The land was watching. Lawyer Kand raised his hand. Let her speak, he said, his voice tight. The ancestors may still be listening. Amora stepped into the circle. She felt the eyes of the living and the dead on her skin. She lifted her voice. Our land was stolen by a lie, she said. Not by the king. By our own fear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elder Dogo stepped forward beside her. We buried a child to protect power, he said. And the land has punished us since. Cries rose. Naylor collapsed, sobbing. I wore stolen blood, she cried. I fed the curse. The ground trembled again. From the edge of the village, Mabira appeared one last time, faint and breaking, her form barely holding together. The truth stands, the spirit said. Now the heart must choose. Lawyer Kand's hands shook. If this is true, he said, the land belongs to the bloodline of the first daughter. The soldiers looked uneasy. Grandmother Sawa lifted herself slowly. My granddaughter is the first daughter, she said. And I was wrong to stay silent. Silence fell. Then a soldier raised his spear. This changes nothing, he said. The king claims the land. The sky darkened suddenly. A powerful wind rose. The drums began to beat on their own. Boom, boom, boom. The ancestors were no longer waiting. And the final test had begun. The night grew thicker after Grandmother Sawa's words. The moon rose slowly, red and heavy, as if it carried old anger. Firelight painted long shadows on the ground. The people of Indam sat in silence, afraid to speak, afraid to breathe too loudly. The ancestors had been invited. Now they were listening. Grandmother Sawa stood with effort. 2 elders moved to support her, but she waved them away. Her strength did not come from her bones anymore. It came from somewhere deeper. Hear me, she said. No one leaves this gathering. A child began to cry, then quickly went quiet when his mother covered his mouth. The hunters tightened their grip on their spears. Warriors stepped closer to the fire. The lawyer Kand wiped sweat from his forehead. He had carried many disputes before kings, but never one where spirits walked so close. Naylor still knelt on the ground, shaking. The bone necklace rested against her chest, glowing softly in the firelight. Amora moved closer to her sister. Naylor, she whispered. Tell me everything. Naylor's eyes were wide and wet. It happened 3 moons ago, she said. I went to the forest near the riverlands. I wanted to pray. I wanted strength. The wind passed through the trees, making a low moaning sound. I heard drums, Naylor continued. Not from the village. From deep inside the forest. I followed them. Several elders exchanged fearful looks. No human drum sounds there, one whispered. Naylor nodded. I met a woman, she said. Tall. Dark. Her eyes were white like bone. She called my name. Amora's stomach tightened. The spirit woman, Naylor whispered. She said the necklace was mine by right. She said I deserved more than shadows. Grandmother Sawa struck the ground with her staff. That spirit is called Mabira of the Roots, she said. She feeds on jealousy and broken bloodlines. A cold shiver moved through the crowd. Naylor sobbed. She told me the land would answer to me, Naylor said. That the elders would listen. That Amora would fade. Amora felt the words cut deep, but she remained still. And what did she ask in return? Amora asked quietly. Naylor looked away. She asked for silence, Naylor said. And for time. The fire crackled loudly, as if laughing. Grandmother Sawa closed her eyes again. Time, she repeated. Time is the heaviest offering. The lawyer Khan stepped forward, his voice shaking. If a spirit claimed the necklace, he said, the land may already be bound. At dawn, the king's men will arrive to mark the borders. A murmur of fear spread. Our graves are there, an elder said. Our ancestors sleep by that river, another cried. Amora stood fully now, her shadow tall against the fire. Then we must act before dawn, she said. All eyes turned to her. You? A warrior asked. A healer. Amora lifted her chin. I have walked the dream paths, she said. The ancestors speak to me. If Mabira has risen, she can be faced. The wind suddenly shifted, blowing sparks toward the forest. Grandmother Sawa smiled faintly. The blood knows its road, she said. You will go. Naylor grabbed Amora's arm. No, she cried. She will kill you. Amora placed her hand over her sister's trembling fingers. If I do nothing, Amora said, we all lose everything. The elders began to chant softly, asking the ancestors for guidance. Drums joined slowly, deep and slow, like a heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. The ground seemed to respond. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the forest. Hunters raised their spears. A shape moved between the trees. Mist rolled in from the river, thick and white. From it came a voice, soft, mocking, and ancient. First daughter, the voice whispered. You are late. Amora's breath caught. Mabira stepped into the firelight. She was tall, her body wrapped in roots and vines. Her skin looked like dark soil. Her eyes were empty holes glowing faintly white. Around her neck hung bones of many sizes. Naylor screamed. The warriors froze. Mabira smiled, showing teeth too many and too sharp. The necklace has chosen, the spirit said. The land bends already. Grandmother Sawa raised her staff. You break ancient law, the old woman said. Mabira laughed, and the trees shook. Ancient law was broken when the first daughter was ignored, Mabira replied, staring at Amora. Amora stepped forward despite her fear. I stand here now, she said. Release my sister. Release the land. Mabira tilted her head. Then walk the path of bones, the spirit said. Before the sun rises. Face what was buried. The fire went out suddenly. Darkness swallowed the gathering. When the flames returned, Mabira was gone. Only deep footprints remained, leading toward the forest. Grandmother Sawa fell to her knees. The journey has begun, she whispered. And it will demand truth written in blood. Amora looked toward the forest. The drums beat faster now. Boom, boom, boom. The ancestors were awake. And dawn was coming fast.